Welcome to the Planning Board regular meeting on Thursday, July 10th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. Please silence your cell phones. I would like to welcome our new member, Greg Bobby, to the Planning Board after we learned how to say his name. Okay. Mr. Hart, please call the roll.
Member Brown?
Present.
Member Bobby?
Present.
Member Powell?
Present.
Member David?
Present.
Member Axelrod?
Present.
Vice Chairperson Rosen?
Present.
Chairperson Mendelson?
Present.
Town Attorney Rubin?
Present.
Thank you.
Great. Could we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Is there a call for a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Swearing in of the public. For those giving testimony, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in by and provide testimony for the application you are affiliated with. Mr. Hart, please swear in those giving testimony.
By the authority vested in me as a notary of the state of Florida, do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay. Are there any corrections to the minutes of June 12th, 2025? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 12th?
I move we approve the minutes of June 12th.
Second? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Unfinished business, none. New business. Proposed amendments to the Town Code of Ordinances regarding the town's comprehensive plan based on the evaluation and appraisal review. Do any board members have any ex parte communications to disclose?
No.
Okay. At this time, I now open the public hearing. Town Planner Allen, please present the proposed amendment.
Hey, good morning. Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. I did first want to acknowledge some public comments that we received. We received public comments on July 7th and July 8th. Those were emailed to the board by the town clerk, and I believe you also have hard copies of those public comments as well. Given the volume of the proposed amendments, we did email the planning board the packet on June 24th. That's right. We want to be sure that you all had ample time to review the item. So these proposed amendments, these are a result of an evaluation and appraisal review of the town's comprehensive plan that was conducted by the town's planning consultant, which is Inspire Placemaking Collective. I'll just refer to them as Inspire. So the Florida statutes, and this is all in your staff memorandum on page 9, Florida statute requires every local government to review their comprehensive plan at least once every 7 years to be sure whether they're compliant with Florida statute. Florida statutes often change. Another thing that may trigger amendments is maybe changes in local conditions. So staff did a preliminary review with our consultant, and it was clear that we needed to make amendments to our comprehensive plan. I do note in your staff report that on December 19th of 2024, we did send a letter to the State Land Planning Agency, which is Florida Commerce, advising them that yes, indeed, we'll be amending our comprehensive plan. We had a deadline of January 1st of 2025 to advise again, the State Land Planning Agency, whether we were going to go ahead and change the comp plan or not, or propose amendments. So they actually acknowledged our notification letter that same day, December 19th. And then per statute, we have to transmit those amendments 1 year from that notification date. We have to transmit them to the State Land Planning Agency and other state reviewing agencies that typically review these types of amendments. I also wanted to let the board know that Inspire held a kickoff meeting with staff. This was held on December 9th of 2024. All the department heads were invited. This evaluation appraisal review was very much a collaborative effort through various town departments. And so we've been working on these proposed amendments with Inspire for 6 months now. It's going through a lot of review. In your packets, actually on page 9, I provide you a list of all the amendments. So the town's comprehensive plan, which by the way, is always available on the town's website under the building department tab. We have 9 elements. We have over 200 goals, objectives, and policies, as well as a map series. So the proposed amendments, we are adding a whole new data and analysis section. Our current comp plan right now has no data analysis. We have no information about population projections, nothing. So we have a brand new data and analysis that was provided to you all. We're also changing the proposed map series. The current maps that we have in our comp plan, they're kind of integrated with the goals, objectives, and policies. Some of them are from 1988. So we have a whole new, brand new map series. And you can see that the colors, kind of match our town logo and what have you. And then, of course, we have proposed changes to the goals, objectives, and policies. Any underlined text means it's a proposed addition. Any text where you see a strike through is obviously a proposed deletion. Also in your packets on page 108, I provided you all the town's ordinance process flow chart. So these amendments trigger an ordinance. You approve them via an ordinance. So if you look at that flow chart, the first step in getting an ordinance approved is you go before the commission for an introduction or a conceptual review. So the proposed amendments did go before the commission on June 17th of 2025. The commission did make a motion to move the amendments to the planning board for review. That motion carried 5-0. So the board, you will be making a recommendation today. You are also not only the planning board, but you're the local planning agency per the code. It's in the code that you are. So you'll make a recommendation to the commission. Then the amendments will go to the commission for a transmittal hearing. If the commission agrees to transmit the amendments, then staff will go ahead and transmit them again to the State Land Planning Agency, Florida Commerce, and to a variety of state agencies that review these type of amendments: Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Florida Department of Transportation, Florida Department of State, et cetera, et cetera. Now, once they receive those amendments, they'll provide the town with an ORC report. It's an objections, recommendations, and comments report within 60 days. Once we get that report, staff, along with Inspire, will review those. We'll address any comments. We'll document that in the staff report because the item will go back to the commission for an adoption hearing. So that at that adoption hearing, the commission will determine where they want to move forward with the adoption of the amendments. So with all that said, let me go ahead and introduce our Inspire team. We have Chris Dougherty, who's the principal, and we have Emily Agarrevera, who is the planner. And with that said, I'll go ahead and give them the floor.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Ingrid, for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen for a brief presentation. So good morning, planning board members. My name is Emily Aguirrevere, and I'm a planner with Inspire Placemaking Collective and the project manager for this project. Alongside me is Chris Dougherty, principal planner of our firm and principal in charge. So over the past several months, we've had the opportunity to collaborate closely with the town to prepare an update to the comprehensive plan, which is the vision document of the city and brings us here today. Just as a brief introduction, Inspire Placemaking Collective was founded in 2022 as a spinoff of SNME. We have over 30 professionals specializing in planning and landscape services, as shown in this slide. The purpose of today's hearing is to present the draft amendments for your recommendation. We will begin with a brief overview to explain why the comprehensive plan is being updated and walk you through the amendment process. Then we will summarize the key changes and outline the remaining steps through adoption. So just to reiterate some of the points that Ingrid mentioned, on December 19th of 2024, staff notified the Florida Department of Commerce, which is the state land planning agency, that amendments to the town's comprehensive plan were due. This last update was completed in 2018. The amendments are part of the Evaluation and Appraisal Review, also known as EAR, which state law requires every 7 years to ensure the plan remains consistent with Florida statutes. The town is required to transmit these amendments within 1 year of this notification. The amendments presented today extend the plan through the 2045 planning horizon, but it's important to note that in 2023, the statutes were updated to require both a 10 and 20-year planning period to address growth through the planning horizon. So this amendment process involves three overarching steps, being data and analysis, the goals, objectives, and policies, and required public hearings. So as part of data and analysis, we first gathered data provided by the city and through our own research, reviewed each plan element to ensure its information is current. Next, as part of the goals, objectives, and policies, we first used a legislative compliance matrix to identify the necessary revisions since the last update. And based on this discussion with staff and best practices, we drafted revised goals, objectives, and policies. We also updated the map series, which is included in your packet. And here we are today as part of the third part, which is the required public hearing process. So this slide here lists the 9 elements of the comprehensive plan. You can think of them like chapters or topics such as future land use, transportation, housing, infrastructure, coastal management and conservation, recreation and open space, intergovernmental coordination, capital improvements, and property rights. So to begin, updates to the plan's references and supporting information involved. As mentioned earlier, the planning horizon was adjusted to span from 2025 to 2045, meeting the state's requirements for a minimum of a 20-year outlook. In addition, we updated outdated statutory and regulatory references. For example, references to the former Department of Community Affairs has now been replaced with the Florida Department of Commerce, as well as Rules 9J of the Florida Administrative Code. They've been replaced with the appropriate sections of Chapter 163. We also removed completed projects and policies that are now addressed in the Land Development Code to help streamline the document. New plans have been incorporated, such as the 10-year water supply work plan, the beach restoration feasibility study, and the Coastal Resilient Partnerships Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment. Finally, we updated data such as potable water flow, which has been added along with edits to improve the clarity and consistency of the text. Our GIS team also updated the map series using the most current available data. This includes updates to the future land use, the existing land use, current projected level of service, among others. I believe Ingrid said this is included in your packet. This slide highlights several recent statutory requirements and preemptions that have been incorporated into the updated plan. For example, we understand that a town only has sanitary sewer, but we included language to make sure that all future development connects to sanitary sewer. And this aligns with the state's priorities for environmental protection and long-term infrastructure and resilience. The update also adds another policy stating that the town shall allow floating solar facilities on stormwater treatment ponds and other water storage reservoirs within the designated future land use categories. We also added a policy to recognize and protect resilience facilities, such as infrastructure needed to withstand or adapt to climate impacts. There's also a state-level preemption related to fuel terminals. However, we don't see this impacting or affecting the town as these types of facilities aren't permitted or anticipated within the town. Here we included a quick reference guide to the statutory updates and how they've been addressed throughout the plans. It outlines the key topic areas where the statutes are referenced and key points to where you can find the corresponding updates in the document. It's really just meant to help you navigate and understand how the plan responds to new requirements. The remaining steps in the amendment process include a transmittal hearing for Town Commission tentatively on August 5th of 2025. Transmittal, if the Commission votes to transmit the amendments, the updated comprehensive plan will be sent to Florida Commerce for a state coordinated review. This is an opportunity for state and regional agencies to have a chance to provide comments, and that typically lasts about 60 days. If any comments are received, we'll collaborate with staff to prepare responses and make the revisions as necessary. And once that is complete, the Town Commission will hold a final adoption currently anticipated later this year. And so this concludes our presentation for the comprehensive plan update. We appreciate your time and attention today and welcome any feedback and suggestions. Thank you.
Okay, so the way this looks like it works is that we on the board can discuss this now for a while and then open up to public comment, or we can take the public comment and then talk about it ourselves afterwards. Is there any preference among the board members? Okay, So my preference would be to open it up to public comment and then we can have all our discussions after having heard everything. Okay, so at this time, okay. If there are any members of the public who would like to comment on the proposed ordinance, please come to the podium and provide your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Yes, sir? Name and address, please.
Hi, how long do I have?
3 minutes.
Oh, it's Tim Rotolo, formerly of 3400 South Ocean Boulevard, now in Boca Raton, just over the border.
So you don't live in Highland Beach now? Okay.
Not presently. But I intend to be back, if you'd like to know. I'm working on regaining some properties that me
Okay.
and my family.
Okay,
Okay.
3 minutes.
And so I often use the shared path here in town by bike, walking, and there's other people using the shared path by motorized bike, wheelie, unicycle, dog walking with coffee and cell phone and 2 leashes, trying to contain their dogs spread out all the way beyond the path. And it makes it difficult. But, you know, if you have a horn or a bell, it helps. And the police can, of course, get involved if they need to. I've been recommending or suggesting some changes to the shared path. For some time, I sent in some public comments to the town manager as recently as last month, maybe, or this, yeah. And also to the town clerk about these things. I also sent to the planning board members, but a lot of y'all have me blocked. I'm not sure what the blockage is all about. I guess you don't want to hear about these kinds of things, but I think the ordinances for the shared path and biking and things of that. I sent what I could find on your website to the town manager and to the town clerk and to others, and it needs to be upgraded. There's a lot of conflicts, and I hope that you would take that up as a part of this process. 7 years is a long time. And like Mr. Brown and I were speaking on the way in, he doesn't even bike anymore because he's afraid to bike on the road, he said. And there's so many people getting killed. Just widening the bike lanes to 3 feet isn't going to help that much. So we'd like to see something done with the shared path, if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm just not sure if you're talking about the walking path or the bike lanes that you say aren't wide enough. Well, just let him answer. 'Cause
Oh, I think the Florida Department of Transportation is right now working
They are.
on widening the bike lanes on the Margaritaville Expressway, or I'm sorry, the Jimmy Buffett Memorial Highway. I think we're getting some signage as a part of that project.
My question
I
was,
believe they're widening the path to 3 feet.
okay, it's
I
5
don't-
feet.
Okay,
in
5
where-
feet.
where
It's not
needed,
enough.
but-
Maybe it was 3 before. I don't know. 5 feet's not enough. You've
Okay.
seen the packs of bikes coming through.
Okay, is that, so your comment is not on when you say shared path, you don't mean the sidewalk, you mean the bike lanes? Is that what you mean? Or which
No.
one?
The Florida Department of Transportation is making the changes to
I know
they're
that.
not making any changes to the shared.
What is your complaint about? The shared path, walking path, or the bike lanes, or both?
The shared path walk, it's called a shared path because it's not a walking path. It's a shared path.
Okay,
It's for bikes and other
right.
things. And so it's the shared path that I'm asking for improvement. I just got hit in the head by a branch right outside my old residence the other day because it was hanging down. I didn't see it, hit me right in the head, knocked my hat off. I
Okay.
thought I was going to maybe be hurt, but I wasn't. I got a hard head.
Okay, thank you.
But these things,
You answered.
if you
the
look
question.
at the fire department, the foliage is cleared all the way up almost to the sky.
Sir, Thank you. I've never blocked my email address in my life except to people who are spamming me. And so if I'm just going to reach out to Mr. Hart. If there's been anybody who sent emails about this, we should read them and discuss them. But it's not for this meeting. But okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Ingrid, are we supposed to read the comments that were sent in writing or into the record, or it's just in the record?
I'll let Jacqueline address that.
Okay, no. Okay, so then we won't do that. Okay. So are there any other members of the public here who wish to discuss this amendment process and this proposed amendment to the town's comprehensive plan? Okay. So hearing none, I'd like to open it up to the board members, and I think we should just go down the row and hear your comments, if there's any, and then we can talk about them. So Greg, do you want to start?
Let the new guy start. I like it. I actually have 2 questions for Ingrid, if you could come back up. My first question was, is there a conflict there's a statement in here, it says the town shall implement policies and regulations to protect and preserve environmentally sensitive areas. I was looking at the maps and you have the old map and the new map. The new map doesn't have the conservation areas anymore. It looks like they were removed. Do those 2 conflict, or you were actually just talking about there's a map update, so maybe that's related to it? And I know our packet is a black and white.
And I may go ahead and have the consultant address that because they did prepare the maps. Hold on.
It looked to me that there was 3 locations or so that were conservation areas on the original map, but on the 2045 plan map, they seem to be removed.
Okay, you're talking about the future land use map? Oh, okay. They should not, I mean, this is, I'm curious where you saw it. So you saw those on the existing, it may have been on the existing future land use versus future land use, which is 2 different. So
Yes, exactly.
let me get.
And I have it on my laptop here if you want to see it.
So you're looking at.
These green spaces here titled Recreation Open Space. And then in the future land use map, it looked like they were removed. Maybe not. Look at the future land use map.
Future land use map should be on one of the first maps, so you're scrolling down.
Page- Page 37.
Page 37 is a future land use map, so you have conservation and then you have recreation open space.
So the same locations were there, is what you're saying?
There have been no changes. I mean, if there were changes, we'd have to do a future land use map amendment.
Okay.
I'll be happy to look at our current one that we have. Let me just take a quick look. I have the actual comp plan.
It was those 3 green sections that looked like they might have gotten absorbed into.
The only changes to the future land use map
Mhm.
was the reference to the planning year
Okay.
and obviously the aesthetics. There were no changes to any of the designations. Again, anytime you change a future land use map, there's a whole process you have to go through. You have a planning board approval, 2 meetings for the commission, it has to go to the state. So let me just double check. So yeah, we have government. So we have the town hall is government, and then.
It was just, it looked like the conservation areas section had changed. That was all.
Okay, so I'm checking the
Oh,
conservation.
I'm sorry.
What is-
Conservation areas were changed to recreational open space or low density multifamily is what it looked like.
Hmm.
And this was going from the original PDF that that
No,
was on the
the-
website.
Yeah, the recreation open space, I'm checking it against our current future land use map. You have 4 parcels. So we'll put those up. Yeah, green. So, no future. So I'm sorry, Mr. Bobby, you're comparing the future land use and the existing, or? Is
Yes.
that what you're doing?
Comparing
Okay.
the existing and future.
You're referring to these properties right here.
3 green ones.
Yes, those, yep, the conservation areas. Looks like there was one just to the north of Bel Lido, for example, a elk one on the existing map. So right here, for example, Ingrid,
Yeah,
see this one here, this green one here,
yeah.
which is not up there on that one.
Okay, if you want
Okay.
to say that on the record.
So just Chris Darty with Inspire. When looking at the wetlands map, you'll notice that there is, according to the wetlands layer, there are wetlands on that property that you're referring to that's shown as conservation on the existing land use map. And just to note, we utilize the Department of Revenue codes through the property appraiser's office to establish the existing land use. So that's the primary use of the land. And so if it provides, say, like submerged lands or something like that, typically we'll say it's probably more of a conservation type aspect. Now, the comp plan or the future land use map is your policy conservation lands. Those are what have been designated preserved lands, essentially.
Got it. So that section here, this green section here, which is conservation, up there is brown, but it's still wetlands. It's just, if it was to be labeled as something, it'd be labeled as multifamily.
That's correct. And
Okay.
so again, you'd have to go through all the permitting, associated with
Understood.
wetland mitigation and, impact. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. And then I had one shorter question for Ingrid. It discusses in here the 100-foot right-of-way on Service Road A1A and 50-foot local right-of-ways. Those are both already in existence, right? That's not a,
Can you tell me the policy that you're referring to, just so I could read it?
yep. You were shaking your head?
Yeah, that is a.
Yeah.
It is a
I-
100-foot right of way, and 50-foot on.
No further questions.
Oh,
Okay, great. Evelyn?
Okay. One of my main concerns, it's not so much, I'm not worried about population decreasing. I'm worried about values decreasing. Our tax base is not based on number of people, it's based on the value of the real estate. When Surfside fell down, because they're allowed to build back, people did not lose the whole value of their units between what their insurance was and the building was, and a builder coming in, they were able to at least recoup most of it, if not all of it, sometimes more. We can't do that here. If we're limiting the build back to, in essence, what's 4 stories, and you've got 10, 15, 20-story buildings, that destroys the value of the units, because no builder's going to come in and do it for all those units. And I think, well, I don't know that we will do that here. I do believe that it needs to be sent back to the commission to come up with some plan, because I know that it's not as simple as it sounds, that when you do things like this, very often you find you're doing it with the best of intentions, and yet it winds up to come back and hit you in the head, because things that you did not necessarily realize would happen has happened. But we definitely need to think about that. But one of my primary concerns is making sure people's real estate retains its value. I mean, obviously barring something like the whole country having an issue, but within what we control, I don't want people to lose the value of what they have purchased. And that concerns me greatly, to be honest.
Evelyn, do you have one of the paragraphs in here? Because there was something I read that sort of said that maybe we could have higher, I don't know, I just can't remember. Yes, future land, it's what I have. Which section? Because I don't have all the sections with me.
Future land use 1.14.
Okay, here it is. 1.14.
That is
7?
page, yes, page 1.
Page what?
Page 1.
Okay. Oh, okay. So,
Wait, actually, isn't it future blue 1.1?
Yeah.
No, 1.14.
okay, I didn't bring that page.
Okay.
Yeah, that's transportation. Okay.
It's not.
Page 7, I think. Did you say 7?
No.
Page 1 of 46.
1 of 46. Why am I on page 1 of 55s? I don't know.
Okay,
Okay.
yes, so we don't have 155. Only goes up
Not strike through.
to 115.
Yeah.
So that's on page 55 of your packets.
Okay.
Um,
55.
Madam Chair, may I
Yes,
add just a little bit to the
sure.
the reason why that's in there? So what we didn't touch on in the presentation is that Florida statutes requires every comprehensive plan to plan for at least Bieber medium, the projections that the University of Florida prepares every year.
Mhm.
There is no way, in our opinion, that the town can accommodate even Bieber low. I think we identified maybe 26 new residents or something
Maybe,
like
yeah.
that within the horizon of the plan. There is absolutely no way we believe that you can achieve Bieber medium. The issue that we find is that the density in the comp plan is lower than what the actual built density is in certain circumstances. So if we have a Surfside situation where the building is completely demolished, they would not be able to build back to the existing density. There are some property rights issues associated with that. I won't get into that. I will, let the town attorney deal with that. But we do see a concern for the provision of services, the burden of, taxes. Again, there are just some things to consider. When we're planners, we look out to the future, what could cause potential issues down the road. Those are things that are concerning to us.
Okay,
So
so
that's
this-
something that is on the strategic priority list.
This is the language that I remembered seeing that I couldn't find. Additional standards such as maintaining existing heights or footprints may be considered in the land development code. So it sounds like it's possible that you could keep the same height amount of units that's envisioned as a possibility. That was the language that I had remembered reading, so.
Right. I believe the idea is that these are considerations that the town commission will need to consider. Not necessarily we're saying that the code needs to be updated today, but these are the things that we need to think about as a town moving forward. And then we understand it's going to take a lot of time to work through that. We're not suggesting we do that as part of this process. We're just
Right.
identifying it as an issue and that the town's going to have to grapple with that eventually. But we don't think as part of this process, it's, the right time.
Yeah, but that really what that shows is that over time, different commissions have come up with different ideas.
Right,
And sometimes it works in the long run and sometimes it doesn't.
right. Well, would you want to, in our recommendation, put forth something that says that the planning board feels that it's, important as, that it's a consideration, but that the planning board feels that it's a very important consideration to keep up values so that people can build back to the, whatever they have now?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that we should do that. And I think that they need to look at all the legal permutations
Yeah.
and what will that occur
I
so
mean,
that we
right.
don't lose value for our
Right.
unit owners.
Okay. No, I agree. I mean, there's probably like a million permutations that they could think of, but
Chairman
Yes.
Nelson, if I may, I did want to advise the board that this issue, actually, it's labeled in the town strategic priorities plan. It's a zoning district evaluation in parentheses density. So this particular initiative is on the strategic priorities plan, on the town's plan. It's been on there for quite a while. It's actually numbered SP 19 under the projects and initiatives. Back in 2023, I did a very preliminary memorandum to the commission because there was a property owner that came before the commission and made public comment that he purchased a property. I think it was on either Russell.
Yeah, I
Yeah, was it
Yeah,
Russell?
it was a
Right.
four.
right,
and he
a three
wanted-
or four
Right.
thing.
And he
and
wanted to
redevelop it,
rebuild it.
And he couldn't get it
He
back.
couldn't. He would
Right.
only be able to
Right.
put in one unit
Right.
instead of the four. So
Right.
instead of raising the property and for flood prevention, he just renovated what was there.
Right.
And we'd like to encourage people building up their property for flood issues, not limiting
Right.
them from doing it.
Right. And the
Right.
developers too. I mean, you want developers to come in if there's like, I mean, I know Toscana is an outlier, but you know, it was approved at a point. So whatever. I mean, I don't know, but
So now that it's referenced in the comprehensive plan, maybe the commission will move that initiative a little bit further up on the priorities list. But again, this has been on the strategic priority plan for several years now. So
Okay.
it's just a
And
bit, I
with
guess, not on,
Toscana-
on a high priority at the moment.
Yeah.
but
That
could
was
change.
the result of a
a lawsuit.
lawsuit.
Yeah.
And I really would not
Right.
want to put the town in a
Right.
position of defending unnecessary
Right.
lawsuits.
Right. It's true. But the lawsuit was because an earlier commission had approved the height of and then they tried to take it back. That was the lawsuit. So you can't approve something and then say, oh, I changed my mind. Well, you can, but.
Well, you
it's
can,
Lawsuit and you
but-
lose, so.
But in fact, you're absolutely right. You're
Right.
stuck with what
Right, with
previous
what we-
commission
I mean,
has done.
that's- Isn't that how all of our government works?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Anything else, Evelyn, or should I move on?
I had just one question. What's vacant generalized design?
Is it a specific policy that you're referencing or?
No,
an
the
announcement?
term was in here and it just, I didn't know what it referred to.
I'm sorry, what was the quote again?
Vacant generalized design. So I'm guessing it's
Vacant.
generalized design for vacant property is what I would read it as.
I
And-
may have to defer to the consultant. Is it under the data and analysis or you're not sure where you got it from?
I just made notes as I read through.
Quick word search.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
I mean, to be fair, we don't have a whole lot of vacant property.
No, one.
Yeah.
I
they
did a quick
really
Look
did.
at it every day.
Yeah, there is one. And that property also, if I'm not mistaken, it does have wetlands. However, he bought wetlands someplace else and traded it with the county to be able to use at least a portion
Yeah,
of the
But he didn't finish
wetlands
the
there.
deal. He made the deal, but didn't complete it, so.
But yeah, it's really only one.
Page 16.
Yes.
Vacant.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what does vacant generalize say?
It was part of the county.
Okay, let's move along and then you guys can find it and tell us, okay? Because I don't want to waste time for you to look up something. Okay, David.
Yes, I'm going to make a comment to this gentleman's comment. If you look at number 4, the recreation and open space, it does say that both the sidewalk and the thing, and in the future considerations, it says currently meeting level, et cetera. It could consider and I would recommend should consider enhancing the pedestrian path and biking trail. So that is in this comprehensive plan. It's in I don't know the page, but it's in section 4. It's called recreation and open space. Of the pack, not about pack, it's basically number 4 of the comprehensive plan. So that is there.
And has that been changed at all?
The only,
or-
it doesn't look like there's been any change. The only thing I would consider, I think it said it should be. I know that years ago, when I was on the planning board, we went through a whole thing with the town and it was an overpriced situation, but I think we should consider doing a more modified plan in the future.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, the only thing else, I was looking at the housing situation and the answer on affordability of affordable housing. I'm going to gather that is a county recommendation.
think.
State.
Yeah,
What?
state.
Okay. So that's
Even bigger.
okay.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm gonna skip for now and Eve.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you have the
That
answer?
We found, yes, we found the vacant. So that's listed in the data analysis portion of your packet on page 3. As part of our carrying capacity analysis, it says all lands not possessing a vacant generalized existing land use designation were removed since they're less likely to be developed for future activity.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's
Welcome.
obscure.
Thank you.
Okay.
And do you what? And that's based on the DOR.
I think David just alluded, but the notions in policy, H, 1.5, 1.55, 1.54, affordable housing, and then residential housing, and then community care housing. Is there any way to modify those? There's clearly no space for those right now in the town.
Could you provide me the policy number again?
Page 12 of 55.
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand these appear to be mandates, I suppose. I'm sorry. They appear to be mandates as opposed to shall consider. And I guess my concern is I don't know how the town can comply. So I'm just trying to understand that we're having rules, take your pick, regulations that are impossible, frankly, under the land use that we have today and the density limitations that we have today, how they can be framed as mandatory. So if you can just explain that to me, I'm willing to accede. I'm just trying to understand.
Could you add something like to its ability? Or, I mean, given its circumstances or conditions on the ground, I mean.
Madam Chair. we
Or, I
could-
mean, I'm sure it doesn't mean that you have to rip down existing housing to put it in.
There's just a lot of shall language in there with not a lot of flexibility
Right.
in terms of making the determination. And that bothers me because I wouldn't want the commission members to be against a requirement, a statute, regulation, take your pick.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
first of all, affordable housing is a requirement of Chapter 163,
Right.
and it has been for
For a long time.
40, 50 years now. So that's just, one thing that we have to address, period. We do make reference to live local. Again, that's a preemption. It's on your commercially zoned and industrially zoned properties. You have no ability to regulate that unless there are certain things in the provision of the law that the town attorney may have. So those are some of the things that these are referencing. And then some of the other things like SHIP housing, these are programs that you participate through the county or through the state. So it's not necessarily that you are going to be the ones funding all of this. So some of these things aren't necessarily happening or, completely within the town's capability to keep,
I guess that's my point.
right.
Is it makes it sound like it is. And the question is there any flexibility to changing the wording? Len, I'll defer to you, but it just seems, is the commission have to put it on its agenda year in and year out and say that it's considering it in order to comply? I'm just trying to understand the process.
Yeah, and as the consultant explained, it's just requirement. So like, I know the language you're referring to where it talks about the SHIP program and housing and urban development, that's all
Okay.
done through the county, that's coordinated through the county, and that's not something that would happen in Highland Beach. The Live Local Act, which was also alluded to, is something statutory, but again, we don't have any property. Well, even Delray Sands is not even zone commercial, so we don't have any
Mm.
property, so that's not really an issue for the town of Highland Beach, but we have to include that language. I'm trying to look at the other.
Well, Len, when you said,
Yes.
it's the county that does,
So
or
those
the
grants,
US
the SHIP
Department of
grant.
Housing, but it says the town shall coordinate with, I mean, shouldn't it be something like where applicable, or?
I mean, we do, I believe every town enters into this interlocal with the county where the county, where you're sort of assigned whatever your entitlements are to the county, and then the county administers the program for the affordable housing. So, I mean, I know what you're saying, but these are like kind of boilerplate language that everyone has to include. I know it sounds ridiculous to you.
Fine with it. I'm just raising it. It isn't
No,
that I'm
I-
against any of
No,
it. It
no,
just
no, I
seems
understand.
Totally
It's just
incapable of
impractical.
compliance.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the same way we're not going to be able to have people not need to use a car. to get around.
That's right.
Like very aspirational.
What's an idea about how to deal with all of this, like?
Madam Chair, we do have at
Yeah.
the very end of that policy, that first one
Yeah.
about the SHIP, when necessary. And
In which policy number was that?
that's the 1.5.5.
H 1.5.
So that
When
says
necessary.
when necessary, and then 1.5.7 says as applicable. So,
Right, okay. Maybe the
and I
whole
have to give
thing
credit, I
should-
believe that's the town manager who inserted that language. So I have to give him credit.
thank you.
Yes.
It seemed impossible.
Okay,
Well,
And it is.
in this town it is, because we have one main street
right,
and we only have one section of the southern end of town that has more than one side of the street. So there isn't a lot of places to go.
right. That's what makes this town so cool. Okay, David.
My questions, which are comments, which centered around build back and density have already been addressed.
Okay. So that's it?
Yep.
Okay, Roger?
Good.
You're good, okay. So I have a few comments, and a lot of them dealt with the affordable housing and how, what that means for us, because we have existing housing unless it burns down, and nothing burns down here because it's all concrete. So, unless they buy out every condo owner and then rip it down, it's not going to be an issue, but it could be.
Yeah, no,
Right.
no, there is one thing. We dealt with this a little bit. We looked into affordable housing, and part of what at least the county's statute says is that it has to be, you need affordable housing if you've got multifunction property, meaning like a commercial property that can be part commercial and part residential within a mile, I think it was 1.5 miles of commercial property. So it really doesn't work here because we don't have that at all.
Right, okay. All right, so, okay, so I have one question, like, this didn't make sense to me. On page 0 of 55 of the future land use element, it's, the language says, avoid a decline in the level of traffic service with resulting increases in vehicular accidents, noise levels, and air pollution. why would a decline in the level of traffic result in increases to accidents and noise levels and pollution? I didn't understand the wording of the sentence. No, I see, but I see that you just changed avoidance to avoid, but it still doesn't make sense, even if it was existing language.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why that's in
Okay.
there per se. Again, this was in the comprehensive plan already.
Okay,
Happy to make any adjustments if you,
right. Well, I
if you have
think
any
it should just,
recommendations.
I think it should just be adjusted to make sense. So a decline in traffic doesn't usually cause increases in vehicular accidents. So if someone
I
could just.
believe what it's saying, it's not
The
saying
level of
that,
service.
right, it's the level of service. So decline meaning your level of service is getting worse, meaning you're going from a D to an F.
What is a level of traffic service? What does that mean?
So level of service is the amount of capacity the town has decided you're willing to, accommodate within a specific road type. So if it's a collector, you're going to have, I don't know, 10,000 trips a day,
Right.
for example. And that maybe that's level of service B, and that's your level of service that you've
Got that.
adopted.
But if
Right.
you avoid a decline in that, that means you have less traffic, less service.
Yeah, you're avoiding a
Right.
decline in
Right.
the level.
Avoidance of a
Going from
decline.
level of service
not-
like C to D
It's
to
two
D to
negatives.
E.
Right.
So it's actually more
Right,
traffic.
basically
Okay.
two negatives.
It's more traffic.
Doesn't.
It's two negatives.
Think about
A
it.
decline in the level of service is more
100
traffic.
parking spaces.
Yeah, it's just, okay, if you guys think it makes sense, it's fine, okay. All right, this is like a major thing for me. Policy FLU 1.1.7 on page 1 of 55. The town shall consider allowing additional land use classifications which supports the needs of its aging population demographics. Such uses may include continuing care or assisted living or a small market, okay? I am 72 years old, so I am a senior person, and I would tell you right now that I moved to Highland Beach because it didn't have a market or an assisted living, okay? And I would absolutely advocate taking that out of this recommendation because I think it's absurd. So I don't know how the rest of you guys feel about that, but that would be something that I would not want to have included in this.
I agree with you, but I don't know that we can take it
Oh,
out. I
okay.
think it may
But
just
it's
be.
for an aging population and,
One-
you know.
Yeah, but that may be one of those things that you have to put in, even though it's never going to apply.
Okay, Len, do we have to put that in? Is that some state, county, federal law? Doesn't look like it to me.
No.
Okay, well, then my suggestion is to take it out. Okay.
And a nursing home would be a commercial endeavor,
Yes,
and we don't allow
I
commercial
just
endeavors.
absurd, and parking and traffic and people coming to the market and, oh my God, in a car. If you're a senior, you don't walk, so. Yeah, well, some of us don't walk. Okay. Okay. I don't know what you do with this, but I thought it was interesting that although we have no military installations near the town, if there is one, we'll ensure compatibility of new development with it. I mean, whatever. Okay. Okay. And then this is the other one that really got to me, which is under the transportation. The town supports expansion of present area transit service to include service along A1A and promote its usage to town residents by dissemination of schedule information and bus stop locations, et cetera. So this is another thing that I think would be a disaster for Highland Beach. I mean, to have a bus going up and down A1A that's already so crowded that you can't move and it's stopping all along the way, it would be taking this highway project and making it like that for the rest of our lives.
I don't think we
Okay.
have the authority to decide if a bus is going to go down A1A. I think that falls on the FDOT.
Maybe it does, but this says that we encourage it, and I would not encourage it. I mean, like
No, I
they,
wouldn't encourage.
yeah,
no.
so I would just take out that we support and encourage it, because if they do it and you have no right to say no, then you have no right to say no, but you don't have to encourage it.
Chair?
Yes, yes.
And if I can add to this, actually, I remember discussing this with the town manager.
Yes.
And we purposely put in the word area because it's not here, it doesn't say specifically Highland Beach, it says the area. So if there's buses in Boca, buses in Delray, it's promoting the area, not specifically for Highland
Okay.
Beach.
But if it's
So-
going through Highland Beach, then if someone came to us and said, there's a bus going down A1A in Boca, and we'd like it to go through Highland Beach and continue through to Delray, do you support that? Okay, now they may say you have to have that and we have no choice, but I certainly wouldn't want a commission to support it because it makes no sense to me. That's, so.
I'll address as needed.
Yeah, well,
Consider.
I would just take out the supporting of it
Yeah.
and
Okay,
encouraging
again, that's
of it.
existing
I would
language,
take
so
the
that's been in the
encourage.
comprehensive plan
I
for
would say
years.
consider,
but,
either
and
consider.
I'll
Yeah,
defer to the
Why
consultant
don't
if
we,
this is the issue.
No,
we
just-
say shall address as it arises or as necessary, as opposed to support?
I don't think that, I just say consider, leave it, sort of blank, consider, rather than necessary or what, because that could prove it's necessary, something like that.
So those are my main comments. So, and plus what you said with the flexibility in the process. So here's a thought. 'Cause I always have thoughts, as you know.
I do.
My thought is that staff should listen to this meeting and take what we've said. I mean, I'm sitting here taking notes, but I realize I can't draft it as fast as we said it. And come back at the next meeting with some language that changes some of this to provide for our concerns, building back at the density, flexibility in the, and in the process of doing affordable housing, not encouraging supermarkets and assisted living and buses on A1A, that kind of thing that we've all said concerns us, and come up with some proposed language that would amend this for us to be able to say, yes, we recommend this whole thing to the commission with the exception of these are the things we'd want to change.
So then you don't want to make those recommendations today
No.
to document, itemize those.
That's exactly right. Because I can't sit here and write them fast enough to draft them. I mean, I draft, but not in this kind of a thing.
But if that's the case, then I'm just looking at the schedule that the commission is supposed to consider this on August
The
5th.
August 5th meeting it was just very tentative. We
Right.
probably wouldn't have made that
Okay.
anyway.
I just want to make
Because of
sure
advertising.
that we're not
Squeezing.
sort of obstructing your flow, if you will, to get this approved with the timely dates that you provided us. Because I
Right.
think you're right.
So the next meeting would be our next meeting would be August
14.
Right.
August 14th. Okay, so for August 14th, I assume you'll do a good job and put down what we've all said, and then we'll just approve it and they can go one more meeting or something.
One
Yeah.
question. Do we have to respond to the public comments given here at all? No?
I'll
Okay.
defer to them.
No.
Mr. Rubin.
Okay.
So, am I allowed to make a motion? Am I allowed to make a motion or?
If not, suggest what the motion is.
Okay.
Nobody will know.
Well, I make a motion if I can, or ask someone else to make it, that we have staff review our comments on what we'd like changed in this, whatever it's called, before we approve it, before we recommend it to the to the town, to the commission.
Okay.
So that we have our thoughts and concerns codified as, an amendment, so to speak, to
So,
the
Can we
recommendation.
table, can we just
Or,
Yes. Yeah.
okay,
okay,
okay.
and so we
Yeah.
can basically we're tabling it, correct?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be the motion, that we continue this public hearing until August 14th and consider our suggestions to amend this document before we recommend it with the ideas that we gave here.
Either so moved or seconded.
Okay.
And I second it.
Wait a minute. Let's ask Ingrid if she can deal with this before we do it.
Well, again, we'll work with the consultant.
Right.
Again, maybe the recommendations don't have to be verbatim, but they can be, conceptual, and then the commission will consider that. Again,
How about if we say you'll address the issues that we've all raised?
okay.
I mean,
Those
things,
back.
summarizing them, it has to do with the build back to capacity requirement, not having assisted living and commercial stores, not if we don't have to, not having bus service if it was our choice on A1A, and having all of this affordable housing in some kind of a flexible or process where it takes into consideration our physical, our physical limitations to do it.
And
So those are the four big areas, unless I missed anything.
I don't think it's that much to really, if you
Right.
think about it, it's a very limited area that we're discussing.
Right. I
again,
mean,
the
I'm
thing of-
looking over and over and I see like those were the same kind of thoughts over and over. So,
And again, with affordable housing, as Mr. Dougherty indicated, a lot of it is requirement
right.
for
But
the
we,
statute.
right.
Yeah,
But I think we'd like to
we can
say
do
that we still, that subject to our conditions here, we'd like that taken into account
Okay.
somehow.
Yeah, I think that would help if we put in language that limits it based on the physicality of the
Right.
town and
Right.
what is
Right.
possible.
Right.
I mean, if you have no possibility of doing something, you shouldn't have to decide to do it.
Right. I mean, which would mean ripping somebody's condo down and
Yeah.
so that you could build a new one that was affordable.
Also,
I mean, it
affordability
is, right.
is not the same every place.
Right.
It's based on the area. So affordable in
Well,
the
land
bar
value.
ranges
Right.
of West Palm Beach is not going to be affordable
Yeah,
here.
no.
But that doesn't mean that we're
You know,
going there, but
that-
it's just not the
That
same.
somebody says, you should have that 25,000 square foot house on the ocean ripped down so that you can put in affordable housing. I mean, yeah.
But we don't have any policy that. sets
I
that.
well, I don't want to.
Again, the live local is industrial and commercial zoning. We don't have.
don't
I,
have
that's
that.
not zoning.
again,
it's
I'm
land
just
use.
saying, it's just
Yeah.
the concept. And that was an extreme, but extremes happen in the world, so.
Chairwoman, in
Yeah.
your motion, was it to bring language back to the planning board? Just to make sure.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
we're happy
Okay.
with it, so that we can recommend this whole thing that we were supposed to recommend today, but with those few changes.
Just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, so that was a motion, sort of.
And
Do we have a
seconded.
second? Okay, all in favor? Do you want to, let's take
need
a
a
roll
roll.
call. Yeah.
Chairperson Mendelson,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Rosen,
Yes.
Member Brown, Member Bobby,
Yes.
Member Powell,
Yes.
Member David,
Yes.
Member Axelrod.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay. So the public hearing is now, it's not closed, it's continued.
Continue.
And announcements. Oh, that was good. No, nothing else. July 15th, Town Commission meeting at 1:30. August 12th, a special magistrate hearing at 1 o'clock. And August 14th, 9:30, Planning Board regular meeting back here to finalize what we just did. The meeting is adjourned at 10:34.
Okay.
Okay. What?
Yeah, when Doug was here, we were both very concerned about not being able
Oh, yeah, no.